Good evening, you guys. My name is Austin Burke, and I will be giving my 6-minute talk on the Bernoulli's equation. So here's some quick background. Daniel Bernoulli was a Swiss mathematician who also studied into other fields of scientific disciplines such as biology, medicine, physiology, physics, and oceanography. One of his most famous works was the book titled Hydrodynamica, which describes many theoretical observations of fluid flow, like mainly water. He developed what is known as the Bernoulli's principle, it states that the pressure in a fluid decreases as the velocity increases. And a series of equations were developed subsequently by other mathematicians and physicists, such as Leonard Euler, who pretty much materialized the equation we know of today in the Bernoulli's principle, which we commonly use in fluid mechanics, as you can see below. So diving deeper into Bernoulli's principle, this equation right here, P1 plus 1/2 density times velocity squared plus density, gravity, and height. Essentially, it will equal that on the other side. So if you have an area of study where a fluid is entering, it will come in at a certain pressure, density, velocity, and elevation. And so with that, if you have all the information on one side, you can obtain more fluid information on the other side. This is also a form of the first law of thermodynamics, or a form of the conservation of energy, because all of these terms are energy terms. So this is the energy from pressure. This is the kinetic energy of the fluid and the potential energy. So if this fluid is at a higher position, then it would have some form of potential energy. And essentially stating that all of this energy coming in has to equal the energy coming out. And so as a fluid moves faster, it has less pressure. On the contrary, slower fluids have a little bit more pressure. And also you can observe the Bernoulli equation alongside the continuity equation, because the fluid will speed up in slower areas. And so one can derive Bernoulli's equation by essentially making a control volume and integrating alongside a streamline and a control surface, essentially also introducing some of the momentum equations and accounting for the surface and body forces due to pressure, integrating some momentum flux, and that would lead you all the way down to the Bernoulli's equation. And so there are plenty of uses in the Bernoulli's equation. One can commonly observe the Bernoulli's equation in practice whenever looking at aircraft or airfoils. Essentially, with this airfoil, the curved upper surface of it is designed so that air above it can speed up and therefore decrease its pressure. And so it'll move faster on the top of the airfoil surface. And due to the pressure differential, the air under it will kind of push upwards, and the wing is essentially lifted, so that generation of lift, once it overcomes the force of gravity acting on the aircraft will fly. This isn't on here, but Bernoulli's principle can also be observed in things like centrifugal pumps, because in a centrifugal pump, a section of water or fluid will enter through an intake section, and as it traverses through the pump, it'll also undergo a reduction in area, therefore it will speed up the fluid. And any vessel that traverses through fluid, be it water or air, has to essentially follow some of Bernoulli's principles in order to operate correctly. And essentially, you can also observe Bernoulli's principle, like I said, in the aircraft or in a pump. I know we'll be working with it a lot as engineers, pumps in aircraft and other devices that use fluid mechanics applications. And also, back to the equation things, we can also, if you assume frictionless and inviscid flow, this assumption of the Bernoulli's equation is also valid. However, if you take into account the friction, you would have to introduce what's known as a friction factor. And from there, you can also account for different types of fluid instances, either if it's turbulent or laminar. Bernoulli's principle can also be modified to solve more fluid application problems. So you can find unknown speeds or unknown pressures or even unknown elevations whenever you're using Bernoulli's equation. So with that being said, here's my sources. I use the Britannica Encyclopedia. I also use some things from NASA in our fluids textbook. And yeah, do you guys have any questions?